Hey guys, what's up? This is Mark Anderson for LateNightMMA.com. Hit me up on my Twitter, it's Radio MMA. I'm just using the webcam on the laptop once again here, and probably one of the last videos I'll be doing that because I just bought a nice HD camera for my trip for UFC 151 in Las Vegas, and then Toronto 152 we'll be at, so we'll get some nice coverage over the next few events here on the website. So this is probably the last webcam video you'll see, thank God, and we'll get into these HD videos coming up soon. Just wanted to break down UFC 150 for you guys. And we'll do a video here on the prelims, then I'll come back later tonight and do a video on the main card. So let's get started. Hopefully I don't butcher these names too bad, guys. I'm not familiar with everyone here, but the names are always tough for me. Some of these nationalities, I just don't do well with their names. But let's start with Nick Lentz. He's a heavy favorite heading into his fight, minus 400. He's taking on Mitsuoka of Japan, plus 255. Lentz heads into this fight on a winless streak here, guys. Hasn't won a fight in 3 fights in the UFC. And if he doesn't get this win, it may be curtains for him as far as his UFC career goes. Meanwhile, his opponent has lost his first fight in the UFC at UFC 144 in Japan over Takanori Gomi. So Gomi got the better of him in Japan. I just like Nick Lentz in this fight. I think Nick's going to get the win and continue on in his UFC career. I think this is a step down in competition for Nick Lentz here after losing to the likes of Bochuk and Evan Dunham. And don't forget, from 2007 to 2011, Nick Lentz was undefeated in the UFC. I think it was a 14 or 15 fight run, not just in the UFC, in his MMA career. But I think Nick Lentz gets things going his way again, and he wins this fight. Minus 400, a lot of money to lay down, but as far as just who I think will win, I think Nick Lentz has this fight. So moving on, we got Dustin Pague, and he heads into this fight as a solid favorite, minus 200 against Chico, who is plus 140. Dustin's coming off the loss to Ken Stone via split decision at UFC on FX4, Maynard versus Guida. Meanwhile, Chico will be making his Octagon debut at UFC 150. I'll be laying it down on Dustin at minus 200. Not bad. I think he's a solid favorite here. And if you've been watching the interviews we've done with all the fighters at www.latenightmma.com, cheap plug, I know, but hey. So if you've been following the interviews we've done with a lot of the fighters, we've interviewed a lot of guys that were making their Octagon debuts, just haven't gone their way. And I believe Octagon jitters are a real thing, 100% for sure. So Chico's going to be making his Octagon debut here at UFC 150, and that's probably the biggest reason I like Dustin in this spot. So I'll lay down the minus 200, and Dustin is my pick in this one. Let's keep it rolling, guys. And Ken Stone is up next. Ken Stone will be fighting against Erik Perez. And this is an even-Steven fight. Both guys are minus 117 on the book I use, partybets.com. Only reason I use that site is because they got a decent amount of cash flow built up on there. It's connected to Party Poker, so you want to play some poker, you can do that, and then head on over to Sportsbook and lay it down. So anyways, minus 117 on both fighters. Ken is a guy that used to be on the show all the time, but as of late won't return my text messages, won't return my phone calls, won't return private messages on Twitter or Facebook to me. So apparently I pissed him off, or he's just become that big of a star that he won't do the show anymore. Whatever. We're here to break down the fights, and breaking down this fight here. So, you know, Ken got a big win his last time out there. And Erik Perez is a guy that's coming off a controversial win over John Albert in his Octagon debut. If you guys remember, that's the fight where Kim Winslow stopped the fight early in a lot of people's minds, and We actually did an interview with John Albert on LateNightMMA.com where he talks about not really wanting her to ref any more of his fights. He thinks he got screwed over. Needless to say, Erik got that win and heads into this fight. Like I said, it's even Steven. It's anyone's fight. So it'll be very interesting who the fans are going to go with in this one. I'm going to go with Ken Stone. Ken is a hell of a fighter. He's won 2 in a row here, and I really like him in this spot. So I'll be laying down -117 or whatever the final odds go off at. And if you want to check out the site later, we have an exclusive interview with Erik Perez. He doesn't speak English very well, but he has his coach with him in this interview we did. And I don't think there's a lot of interviews out there with this guy because he doesn't really like to talk in front of the camera or talk on radio because his English isn't that good. So this is probably one of the few interviews you'll see with Erik Perez pre-fight. So let's keep on trucking along here, guys. Next up, Jared Hamman is a slight favorite heading into his fight, -125, and Michael, his opponent, is -111. Jared's been up and down lately over the last few years in the UFC. He had a big win, not his last fight, the fight before that against C.B. Dalloway, but he's lost big fights to Gustafsson and Kingsbury. Seems like he wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one. So if that streak continues, this next fight should be a win for him. Meanwhile, Michael lost his Octagon debut, but before that he was undefeated, and he has a lot, and I mean a lot of stoppages in the first round. This guy's a finisher. So breaking down this fight, I'm going to go with Michael Kuiper. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation of the name. I think I butchered it, guys, once again. But I like Michael in this spot. I think he's got the jitters out of the way, and he's going to come in here and he's going to finish this fight. So I like him finishing Jared Hamman, and he's -111 in this spot. Okay, so one last fight here to break down in the prelims. We got Tommy Hayden versus Dennis Bermudez. Yeah, so this is a big fight. Dennis heads in as a big favorite, -333, and Tommy is a massive dog at +220. Tommy is 8-1, 0-1 in the UFC, and lost his first fight via choke in the first round in his Octagon debut. Bermudez, on the other hand, is 1-1 in the UFC, and although he lost 3 in a row prior to his last win, he lost to the likes of Drew Pickett, Jordan Rinaldi. Jordan Rinaldi was on the Ultimate Fighter. He had a chance to get into the house. Hell of a fighter. I think he just had a fight at RFA, got that win, and Diego Brando of Ultimate Fighter fame. All great fighters. We did an interview with Bermudez earlier in the week. You can check that out at LateNightMMA.com. He sounded very confident in this fight, and can't blame the guy. He's coming off a massive win over Scarecrow. So I love Dennis in this spot, and once again, Dennis Bermudez -333. Next up, we'll be doing the main card, UFC 150. So we're going to post this video, and then later tonight we'll post the main card video. Check everything out at www.latenightmma.com. Hit me up on Twitter at Radio MMA. Appreciate you guys checking out the video. Sorry for butchering some of these guys' names. I got to get my shit together. But keep checking out the video.